You know the feeling when someone gives you something and they say, hey, I just took this out of my rack and it works perfect. Well, you know that it's not going to work perfect, and it might not even work at all. And that's exactly what happened here. I was given a Tascam DA30 and I was told, hey, this thing works great. Yeah, sure it does. Here I have a Tascam DA30. It will not open. This one has a problem. This one actually came to me from an old friend who was in a rock band back in the 1960s called The Haunted. He had this in his studio. He assured me that it worked, but as you can see, it doesn't work. It doesn't open. Sounds like something's slipping. So we'll pop the top off this one and see whether it's just the belt. Which belt is slipping? This one? Nope. It's not this belt that's slipping. Probably that pesky one in below. If you remember what the DA40 looked like inside, totally different. Totally different board on this one. But it sounds like a belt slipping, so we're going to have to pull the chassis and take a look. I bet you it's that little tiny belt in below the mechanism that controls the loading and unloading, and it mustn't be in the right mode, so it's not telling the unit to open up the disc tray, because this is the one here that raises and lowers the mechanism. And actually I think there's another belt in the back here too. There's another one back here. I bet you that one is the one that's slipping, that turns this gear here. Anyway, I got to pull the mechanism out to get at that, so let's do that. Should be able to just remove 4 screws and lift the whole mechanism out. I think I can do that on this one. Hey, look, it's got a built-in reverb spring. Just joking. I don't know really what that there is for. Take out this whole bracket. There's another belt back here. Wonder if this one's slipping. We'll just turn it on and see whether this is the belt. No, it's not. It's the one on the bottom here. Belt drive for the spool, but I believe there's another loading. There's another loading belt down here on this. It's down. And this one is down here. I think this is probably the one that's slipping. There's this little belt down here on this side. I can hear a motor turning. Which one is it? Is it this one? Oh, you know what it is? It's not so much the belt is slipping, it's this mechanism is jammed. This is all gummed up. This belt here is slipping, but this mechanism looks to be gummed up. It's not even turning. Try to turn it by hand, it's really stiff. That's what's wrong. This mechanism has become gummed up. The grease is dried up in here on this gear here. Yeah, that's all gummed up. Okay. Got my work cut out. Now I know where the problem is. The main power is off. Gonna have to free up that gear that's sticking. I wonder what else will be wrong with this unit.
Lots is wrong with this unit. I wish I could be so lucky that it's just this gear that's jammed, but it's not. And we're going to find out real soon how complex these mechanisms can be.
Unplug the preamp there, and I'll remove the screws that hold it, and I should be able to get at this gear. Unplug the preamp. So this is all sticking here. This is gummed up, and it's causing this belt to slip. But I mean, it's gummed up pretty good. We'll pop the cut washer off the bottom here. And remove the glue, the grease. Yeah, this is all gummed up. This one's gummed up too, as is this. Yeah, that's gummed up pretty good. Okay, I gotta clean all this. This is what happens with equipment that sits around for a long time without being used. The grease dries up, and everything all goes to hell. These little switches cause problems on these units too. They get dirty. That's what switch tells. It tells the machine what mode the mechanism's in. But this should turn easily, and it's not. It's sticking. So that's what I think raises and lowers the cassette. Yeah, that raises and lowers the cassette, you see. This whole mechanism is stuck. Now that I've moved it a couple times, it's getting a bit easier to turn, but it's going to have to be cleaned up. I'll take out this gear too. That washer off. Take this washer off here too. The grease is like glue. That part moves not too bad. Yeah, that part's okay. It's right in here. So we'll just get some isopropyl alcohol and clean up that glue. That I call it glue because it feels like glue, but it's actually grease, or what was grease at one point. This almost feels like that white lithium grease. We'll put some of my good old Molykote grease on here. I gotta hold the mechanism. Gotta hold. Let me zoom the camera out a bit there, so you can see what I'm doing. I gotta hold this piece in place. There's two levers on this pin. I gotta hold them in place so that I can place the cut washer back on, or otherwise it's just gonna push the pin through. I'll just rotate it a bit so I can get my thumb on there to hold it. Okay, let's see how easy this turns now. Ah, much better. Much better. So that's part of it. I'm going to also lubricate this one because this feels like it's turning a bit stiff too. Come on. Damn it. Take the belt off while I'm at this. Just so I don't wreck it any more than it is. Again, the old white grease that's no good. There, now it turns nice and freely. Put the cut washer back on. Wonder what else I'll find around with this thing. I don't think this thing's been used in 20 years, and that's why it's gummed up. Oh yeah, now it turns freely. Get the belt back on. Put the preamp back in. And yes, things are twice as hard when you're trying to film it. You don't have enough hands to do everything. And then the bloody camera's always in the way. It's always right where you need to put your head, so you're kind of trying to see at some strange angle what you're doing so that the camera has the best shot. As I replace the screws, I'll flip the deck over. And I'll just set it in place and see whether it will open up when I hit the power button. It opens. Okay, good. I'll just put the screws back in to hold the chassis in place, and then we'll try playing a tape and see whether it. I'll put one or two of the screws in just to hold the chassis in place. And we'll try this thing out and see if it plays a tape. I have a feeling it probably doesn't play, just because it's been sitting around so long. The capacitors in that preamp may be bad. Okay, somewhere here I have a tape. I always like these Tascams. You just drop the tape like that and it loads automatically. Well, it's supposed to load. What else is wrong with it? Yeah. Well, I thought my camera was recording there and I was off. Damn it. But basically the grease here gets all gummed up. It turns to like glue. Gets all sticky. We're gonna clean all this stuff off. I've got alcohol on this Q-tip. Clean up where all these parts slide, these metal parts. Down here, get some more alcohol. Probably clean the tracks down here where the guides run as well, because I'm sure the runners are probably gummed up. The grease is the same age. Yeah, it's working a little better now. Let's see whether... So it's not loading the tape. Looks like it's trying. I see the drum motor starts up. But it's not loading the tape. So I'll take the mechanism out again. Check to see whether the guides themselves are stuck. Or whether it's the cam gear that operates them. Judging by the fact that the loading gears were for the front loader were all jammed up from the grease drying up, I would imagine that the mechanism that loads the tape in place probably also have a similar fate. The guides themselves are probably frozen. So that means I gotta pull this mechanism apart completely to get at this. Undo all the plugs. Just looking to see which way is going to be easier to get this apart. Yeah, I probably have to cut these straps and unplug them. There, now the mechanism's free. So I'm going to remove this plug. I gotta take this little circuit board out. This is quite different than the DA40, I'll tell you. The DA40's got that nice servo board on the bottom, and this one doesn't. Come on, unplug, damn it. Got the little tiny belt here as well, like the other ones. Yeah, it's like glue in here. Look at that. See, the guides themselves are all gummed up. Even turning it by hand is stiff. I should put power to this motor and just low voltage, of course. Just turn my power supply on to about 2 or 3 volts, and we'll apply some power to the motor. See if we can externally operate this thing and wind the mechanism back and forth. So I've just attached some wires to the loading motor so that I can remotely operate the loading motor. See if I can get this mechanism to operate a bit. Give it a bit more voltage. I'll give it maybe 6 volts. There we go. And we'll just switch the wires around and drive it the other way and see if it'll load. I've just put some, taken off that dried grease, and I've just put a bit of oil on the pivots. As you can see, it's still pretty stiff. I think if I can work this thing through a few times and get some lubricant down onto the rails, I'm just going to use some oil, just a drop of oil onto the rails here. Try and get the guides that are frozen to unfreeze. I don't have to worry about any gears or anything breaking because the belt will slip before there's too much torque applied. But I'm just trying to get the mechanism to move back and forth a few times to see if it'll free up. See, it's getting faster already. Pinch roller still not engaging. we're working at it. It's getting better. More of the mechanism down here is also gummed up. Everything on this mechanism is gummed up. This grease that they put on has completely turned to glue, basically. And everything is gummed up. It'd be a miracle if I can actually get this thing working. The guy that gave it to me, when I told him it's all gummed up, he says, "Good luck." Break that free. It's gummed up. That one's free. You might wonder why I'm using oil. Well, it's because oil flows freely and gets into stuck parts and makes them work their way free a lot easier than trying to get in here with grease. Okay, that part of the mechanism is freed up now. Looks like the pinch roller is also freed up. Let's see how it unloads here. That's working a lot better than it was. Okay, now the pinch roller is engaging, where it wasn't before. I think this pin is still stuck over here. This one pin down here I think is still stuck or sticking. I'm going to take a look at the bottom of the mechanism. Now that that part seems to be working okay, let's take a look at the bottom side here and see what happens on the bottom when I run it through the motion of loading and unloading. So this piece here is also gummed up. I can feel it, it's sticky. Take that belt off there for now. Now compared to what this was doing when I started on this, how bad it was, I think I can probably put this thing back together and see whether it'll actually load a tape now and actually maybe even work. First I'll remove the wires I added to the loading motor for applying my power supply to load and unload it. And we're still a little too slow at loading. I gotta lubricate more, but at least it's starting to work. You see it loading, but it's still sticking. So I gotta put some more oil on there. But at least we're going the right direction. We'll lift the pinch roller up here a bit. I've taken the clip off the bottom, which is right here. This is the shaft for the pinch roller here, but it's not gummed up. It's actually it's quite free. We'll just put a bit of oil on there. I think I have to look under this board here to see what else is sticking. So we'll just twist this one off, and this should lift up. I think that's the only one that holds it in place. Okay, what else is sticking in here? There's got to be something else sticking on here. Watch what it does. That is sticking. This should pull all the way down, and it's sticking here. What is it sticking on? These are the tensioners that provide the tension to when the guides lock into place. They provide the tension to hold them in place. This guide here appears to be sticking on the unloading phase. It's catching on something.
Yeah, I can hear you cringing out there. Don't worry. The excess oil is all going to be wiped up before I put this bad together. I'm just trying to free up the mechanism that's sticking here. The grease that was on there was in such bad shape that it's sticky. It's like molasses. It's really, really sticky stuff. That would have been that white lithium grease, that era back then in the 80s when a lot of stuff used that crap.
See, the guides are all the way fully loaded there. And if I go to unload it, it sticks. This guide is not coming all the way back. It's sticking part way. Might just be this. It's just this. I think it's just this thing that's gummed up. Whoops! I popped it out. It's just this old dried lubricant that's gummed up in here. To pop that back together. Okay, that worked that time. Gonna come back all the way, or is it gonna stick again? Ah, that's working a little better now. That's just that remnants of the old lubricant that's sticking. It's terrible stuff. I don't know what they used on this, the factory, or whether anybody put some lubricant on there after the fact, but whatever it is, it's really gummed up. So I put some oil on it, and then I'll wipe off the excess. I just want a very thin film. Okay, that's what it's supposed to do. See, there was more gummed up mechanisms on this other side. This other I had to take this lever apart. Guide assembly. I had to take this off and kind of straighten it up a bit because it was jamming, and it caused this guide here to jump to the other side over here. So that was causing the mechanism closed, and it went to drop down the tape. It was causing it to hit because this guide that's supposed to be on this side was over here. So I had to take it all apart to put it back into the proper alignment. How that happened, I don't know, but it happened when I was working on it. So it's now back where it's supposed to be. We'll wipe up some of this lubricant that I've spilled as I was oiling and greasing everything. And we're going to put this back in the cabinet now and see if it works, see if it does anything at all other than jam. Ah, damn! That part's working. The question is, am I going to get any sound out of this sucker? Well, let's find out. Play. And what do we got here? I don't hear any sound. Well, I got some sound. It just doesn't sound very good. It's all these pops and clicks. What the heck's going on? First tape I put in, heard nothing. I couldn't figure out why. And then I see the thing showing 32 kilohertz, which was recorded in LP. But this machine does not support LP. So the counter was moving at the normal speed, but normally the absolute counter moves at half speed. So why is it not playing? And I realized, wait a minute, it's an LP tape. This doesn't support LP, so I put an SP tape in, and of course I get sound on it, but now I've got this clicking and popping, which I'll have to investigate and see why it's doing that. But hey, we've made a little progress. At least now it threads up and it sort of plays. We'll look at the output on the scope, I think, and see what the RF looks like. Well, my RF waveform looks okay. I don't know what's causing this offset. There seems to be like a DC offset between the two heads. Whether that's what's causing the noise or not, I don't know. But I see there's an offset here. But the waveform is clean, and if I adjust it, I can make the waveform worse by adjusting the guides, and you'll hear the noise will get much worse. There. So my waveform looks to be okay, but as far as it being a flat waveform, but I'm getting this popping sound, which I'm not quite sure what it is. It might be a preamp problem that I'll have to investigate further. But we've made progress. At least we've got some sound coming out of this machine now. It's a work in progress, which I'm going to have to continue to work on. So I think this video has gone on more than long enough now, so this is going to be a two-parter. So part one was getting the mechanism working. Part two will be finding out what's causing that noise. So I'm ending this one now. I keep you guys in suspense. We'll be working on this one again real quick. I'd like to get this thing going. So thanks for watching part 1 of overhauling a Tascam DA30 that's been sitting for probably 20 years without being turned on, and that's probably why it's not working very well. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in part 2 coming up soon.